WaterCan is demanding openness regarding irregular expenditure at Umgeni Water. Last week, the water services company presented its annual performance results for the year 2021-22. While it pulled its best performance since 2018, investigations are underway to deal with 161 million rands in new irregular expenditure. This amount is part of about 2 billion rands in cumulative irregular expenditure from previous years. For more on this conversation, I'm joined by Ferial Adam of WaterCan. A very good morning to you, Ferial. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, the bigger concern is 2 billion rands in cumulative irregular expenditure. But let's just work with the year that we should be celebrating, the financial year we should be celebrating, given what has been happening in the KZN. To say that you still are not spending 161 million rands the right way, especially at a time when the people of the KZN, who were really just, destroyed by those floods, are still needing help.
Yes, good morning. Exactly the point is that, we do welcome that, they had this briefing and they sharing the kind of the audits that have happened with Umgeni Water. But we're saying that, at some point, and I think you've mentioned the cumulative irregular expenditure, is that it's not stopping. And that's a lot of money, given what is going on in KZN, where many of the beaches in December, in the height of their tourism period, was, you couldn't swim because of high levels of E. coli. Many of the rivers and streams in KZN have high levels of E. coli. So it is in light of that that we're saying that it's not enough to say that there's irregular spending. We want to know how and who signed off on that irregular spending. And it's time now that people are held accountable. We have this across the country where there's irregular expenditure. But if we just say that that's happened and then people become millionaires with these contracts, and it's not enough to fire them. We want Umgeni Water to show us what is the plan to get that money back.
You want the plan to get the money back, but obviously we need to start with, the answer of who are you giving this money to if it's not going to what It's supposed to be going to. So how confident are you that you can get this kind of response from the water project?
I think it's there. I think that they have it. They're just not revealing it. And that's the issue where we're saying, if you're going to be transparent about your audit, if you're going to tell us, you want to show that you're being accountable, but then go the full hog. Show it to us. Tell us everything. They must know where that money has been spent. And if they don't know how that money has been spent, then there's a serious concern. And then how do they get a cleaner audit than before? So those raises a whole range of other questions. And I think that it is in the interest of the public to have this kind of information. It shouldn't be a secret.
This is just one of many issues that are facing the KZN where water is concerned. I mean, I bring to your attention the Lower Umkomazi bulk water supply project as well that has resulted in the death of a councillor at one point. So there is that factor as well, is that people that want to do right, people that want to keep away those who want to put their hands in the cookie jar and cause this irregular expenditure are being eliminated. They are being killed. So clearly, this is something a lot bigger than just, water projects not, giving you and sharing and being clear and transparent about how it is they're spending their money. Clearly, there are people who have got guns to the heads of those who are responsible for providing water to people.
And sadly, KZN is one of the provinces that has a really big problem with that, in terms of, if you oppose me in any way, I will take you out, so to speak. And I think, but we have to start somewhere. We have to stop the water tanker mafia from taking over, for example, across the country. Because if you allow it in one place, it is going to spread and it's going to be the norm and not, unnormal for us to have it. And that is why KZN must be the case study where we actually stop and show that transparency needs to work. And the thieves and the crooks and the ones who are doing these kind of, taking people out, are dealt with properly. And that's the thing, is that water is about life. It is about having access to drinking water and health, but it's also about safety and security. It's also about politics. We can't divorce it from that. And I think that is the key thing, is we have to interlink it. We have to show that there's a disaster here. There's a state, we need a state of emergency in terms of what's going on and the control over water in KZN. And all of those things need to come up, and this is part of it. This is part of being transparent and getting rid of the bullying and the mafia type behavior that exists.
Do you think provincial government or maybe even national is doing enough to try and get this kind of transparency, to try and end this mafia style, crimes that we are having in where water is concerned, at least, but with everything else that has plagued South Africa?
I don't think enough is being done. I think we need to do a lot more, because it's not KZN only, it's in the Eastern Cape and other parts of South Africa where there is this. It's the same kind of thing we're seeing with Eskom right now, right, with load shedding. And people talk about sabotage or terrorism, however you want to define it. I think that the same thing is going to be happening with water, where people are going to break infrastructure on purpose to get tenders to have water tanks or to supply water, etc. So we have to deal with it now before it gets out of hand and we have no control over it. We have to have better oversight. And whether the national department or provincial departments are doing well enough, I don't think so. I think that the Department of Water and Sanitation at a national level, in the last year with the new minister, new DGs, new appointments, have done really well to get the department working again. So I think that they're on the back foot, but I do think that this is something they are aware of and they're investigating, but they're not doing it fast enough.
Just before I let you go, Ferial, would you think that, the positive outcome, at least the positive performance in the last annual report, is maybe just a smokescreen to hide exactly what it is that is happening and what could potentially worsen over time? Is that maybe even next year they might say, well, look at us, we managed to, do even better 2 years after the floods had taken place. But when you really look under the surface, when you really try and look through that dark hole, you will find that it is incredibly rotten and it is only but going to get worse. Do you just find that this annual report is just a smokescreen?
I won't call it a smokescreen, but I do think that it's disingenuous, because if you are losing 2 billion, at least a cumulative amount of 2 billion because of irregular expenditure, then you don't have anything to celebrate about.
Ferial, thank you so much for joining us here on the South African Morning. That is Ferial Adam of WaterCan. And of course, we'll be bringing you more of the day's top stories when we do come back.